What is going on, snipers? Naeem Al-Obeidi here. I hope you're all enjoying your day today. Let's go ahead and just dive right into our daily cryptocurrency content and analysis for today. This is going to be an exciting video and a continuation of our video we posted about a month ago. If you don't remember, the most undervalued coin of 2018 being the Binance coin, where it was only at about 10,000 Satoshis, and you can see now we've surpassed that and we're now heading towards 16,000 Satoshis and forming this beautiful cup and handle. If you don't know what a cup and handle is, you can see it's a continuation pattern and an indicator of a breakout, and the best way to indicate this is the right hand of the diagram showing low trading volume. We're seeing that here with this negative divergence, the MACD about to start turning to see that buyer sentiment come in, and with the RSI heading straight up, I believe this is going to be the next breakout. And we're also going to be talking about a Verge Ask Me Anything with the CEO of Verge coming up this week. We're going to be allowing each and every one of you guys to actually submit questions. I already put the link in the description. It's on Slido, which is sli.do, and then you can go there and type in T818 and join this and go ahead and ask a question or even vote on current existing questions for me to ask the CEO of Verge coming up around this Friday. So it's going to be exciting, and I also got a little bit of some extra information. I was on the phone with resistance. So what we'll draw here is the Fibonacci retracement. This helps a lot with predicting potential resistance and support levels, and we'll take it from the top here, from this breakout all the way down to this area here. I typically find some really good patterns when we do the Fibonacci in this manner. You can see we just broke through new zones in the Fibonacci retracement, heading towards this 0.618, and you can see how with this breakout initially we were seeing some resistance here. We broke right through it, and now we're seeing even further upside. And what's really cool about this is we've broken this huge resistance of 9,000. So now the next real resistance level is right around that $10,000 or $9,800 mark. And I think we'll definitely see resistance there, but it's not going to be the end for Bitcoin. In my opinion, knowing that we're above the 200-day moving average, as you can see here, the 200-day moving average depicted here, we've bounced off top of that. And in my opinion, that's a very bullish sign for Bitcoin over the long term. And we are expecting a pullback. This is actually what we drew out several days ago, and it's following exactly what we predicted as we went ahead and broke right through that 60. And it's exciting to know that Bitcoin is starting to head up. And not only that, we're seeing a ton of institutional investors come into the market, as we've talked about in the past. Now, what's interesting about BNB, in my opinion, just to kind of touch on this, is the fact that they've announced today that they are allowing individuals to go ahead and convert their decimal coins over to BNB. This is a big deal. Some people might not see this as a big deal, but in my opinion it is, because who here gets frustrated when you have like 0.00001 icon or 0.0001 stellar or 0.0001 EOS, right? Let's see what the live audience say. Do you guys get like frustrated when you have these 0.0000 decimal coins? Of course we do. It's not something that is so user-friendly, and Binance is obviously making improvements. They're going on their own blockchain soon. There's so much good news here for the Binance coin, and it's so undervalued in my opinion. It's forming this beautiful cup and handle. It's looking a lot like what EOS formed before seeing this huge breakout. You can see EOS did the same exact thing. It went up, it formed the cup, formed the handle, and now it's to the moon. So in my opinion, with EOS, it's seeing such a high amount of exuberance. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who knows the EOS team and the founder, and they're making a lot of moves right now. And I'm going to tell you what, they have not even spent any money on advertising yet. And when a lot of these ICOs are coming out on the Ethereum platform and realizing how slow their blockchain is, a lot of them are going to start transferring over to the EOS platform, in my opinion. James Greenway saying, I don't seem to have a convert to BNB option. I'm sure they're rolling out slowly, but the point is they're rolling it out. Richard says, yes. Mojka says, I hate it. Jose says, I have a ton of Satoshis just sitting there. Yeah, it sucks, right? But now they've come up with that solution, and in my opinion, that's a very bullish move for the Binance coin. Now, in other news here, check this out. Pretty big deal. Bitcoin.com. Roger Mr. Ver. He owns this website, right? You know Roger Ver, all about Bitcoin Cash. Check this out. What do you guys think about this? Bitcoin BCH, Bitcoin Core BTC. I think that's extremely misleading. And in my opinion, a lot of people have been asking me about what I think about Bitcoin Cash. And if you guys watched our video yesterday, we talked about how the Bitcoin Lightning Network in the past 2 weeks has already doubled its amount of transaction volume, and it is working extremely well. And in my opinion, when Bitcoin's Lightning Network comes out, I just don't know if Bitcoin Cash is necessarily going to be deemed as something that has any sort of intrinsic value if Bitcoin's core coin and development is already going towards that Lightning Network implementation that's going to already fix the things that Bitcoin Cash is supposed to fix for merchant use. So in my opinion, this is not looking so good for Bitcoin Cash, especially because they're doing this. This is extremely misleading in my opinion. You can trick a lot of people by doing this, especially people just coming into the market. I think this is completely messed up. Chris Green says, F Roger Ver. You got to be nice here. Roger Ver has done a lot for the community. And remember, Roger Ver was part of the early contributions of the development of Bitcoin. And he's a very important figure and role model. But at the end of the day, you know, I just don't know if I can agree with what he's doing here with Bitcoin.com, especially with that prominent of an influence in this marketplace. But with some other good news here, Bitcoin is becoming a regular market alternative to Forex. If you guys don't know my story, I started in traditional markets. I started in Forex. And now that I'm seeing articles like this come out, it's so fascinating to me, and it makes me so much more bullish about this whole market in general, knowing that we're under 500 billion in total market cap, whereas residential real estate is a $20+ trillion industry, and gold is a $7 trillion plus industry, a lot higher than that. So that is so bullish in my opinion. And you can see here in this article at the end, it says, cryptos are entering the second stage with the big players starting to move in. And that's what we've been talking about for quite some time here. Goldman Sachs hiring their vice president and head of digital assets market. This is a big deal. The 5th largest bank in the United States has finally stepped into the crypto space by making their first hire for cryptocurrency unit. Justin Schmidt, what a Schmidt. Justin, you're such a Schmidt. That's a funny last name. I've always laughed at that last name. I like it. If your last name is Schmidt, you're such a Schmidt. Justin Schmidt has been a crypto trader for more than a year. Why am I highlighting more than a year? Because guess what? For those of you just now coming into this whole industry, this whole market, this whole community, right? Like everything's going to the moon, everything's going great. Well, yeah, I mean, EOS just doubled in the past week. So if you put in $1 million, you just made $1 million, right? So that is a big deal. That is a very bullish market. That's a big opportunity. But I think there's even a bigger opportunity in the industry itself. For those of you that might not be as, trading savvy and just want to take advantage of the industry and as a whole, there's going to be so much job opportunities coming in this industry. And if I were you, I would highly recommend starting to study and understand the blockchain and the cryptocurrency market in general. And with that being said, why don't we just give away a book to help some of you understand it? Let's do a live book giveaway, and we'll do a simple question here. I've talked about this in the past, but we always talk about the RSI, right? Let's see who pays attention here on Snipers Tube. What does the RSI stand for? Let's see what the live audience says. What does the RSI stand for? Very simple question. We've asked this in the past, but let's give away a book. Somebody says, yo, everyone, let's like the video and get to like 200 likes before Naeem gets online. RF Dusty. Absolutely. I would very much appreciate a like, and that would be awesome. Ryan Ross says, yes, 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 I love books. Let's see. William Sanchez says, yay, free book. Well, what does the RSI stand for? Ryan Ross, you won, brother. First one I saw. It says Relative Strength Index. We didn't spell it right, but I never said you have to spell it right. So good job, Ryan Ross. That's a book for you. Send me a message on Twitter at SnipersTube. And if you guys want books, we're giving away books for the next 7 days straight on our Twitter. It's at SnipersTube. And we're going to be giving away some really cool books, even Principles by Ray Dalio, which is a little bit more of an intricate book. This one as well, Mastering Bitcoin, for those of you a little bit more advanced. I wouldn't recommend this if you're just now getting into the marketplace. But with that being said, check this out here. So I saw this article here, Goldman Sachs inches closer to launching a Bitcoin trading desk. And it correlates with the article previously with Goldman Sachs hiring somebody for their cryptocurrency unit. But what's cool about this is, if you see here, if the bank goes ahead with this concept, institutional money can send massive shockwaves throughout the industry. Everything that we're seeing right now in the press is about institutional money coming into the market, and that is exactly what we're seeing at all of these blockchain conferences and all of these events that I'm personally attending. I'm seeing a lot of institutional interest. I'm seeing a lot of big-time investors looking to get into this market, and that's where the market is going to start doubling in size. If you look at Coinmarketcap right now, you could see total market cap right now at $434 billion, whereas it was under 300 billion a couple weeks ago. That is a big deal. Here are some of the coins, by the way, that I highlighted for today's video as being less liquid as other coins in regards to all of the money that has come into the market recently. And we've been doing this for the past couple of days, and it's been working really well. We actually called out Neo, Binance coin. We called out the Saya coin, the Zilliqa breakout, and it was just by utilizing the strategy. And what I'm seeing right now is a couple coins right now that aren't seeing as much exuberance as others. EOS completely overbought, 80% up in the last 7 days. Bitcoin Cash 90% up. It was at 100% yesterday. So I see a lot of these as being completely overbought, but Bitcoin probably being the least overbought coin right now at only 18% up in the last 7 days. In my opinion, I'd be the most bullish about Bitcoin. So if we were to do a Bitcoin technical analysis here, we'll go into a little bit more depth. I know we kind of skipped it. You can see we still have a little bit more, some room to go here with this RSI. Once this RSI can start to head up past 70, that is when it will get into its overbought range. So let's go ahead and reinsert this RSI standard there. So you can see we still have a little bit of room to go. I still expect this to start going up. I am setting up some trailing stop losses to ensure that as Bitcoin starts to go up, I am, by the way, hedging against the altcoin market right now with Bitcoin, because as you can see, it is probably the best hedge against Bitcoin right now, being that it's only 18% up versus the majority of the market over 30%, and then the minority of the market over 20%, like Steam, for example, which I think is completely undervalued right now. And when altcoins pull back, I'm going to be looking at some of these coins that have not yet seen this exuberance, like the Binance coin, Amisco, Steam, VeChain, NEM, Neo, Litecoin, Bitcoin, because of the fact that they are not as overbought as some of these other coins, whereas the majority of the market right now, even if you were to look at the RSI, is over 70, which means that the whole market's overbought, and we are due for a pullback because there's always going to be people taking profits. Nothing just goes all the way up. There's always fluctuations. If you don't know how market cycles work, this works in the long-term charts, and this also works in a short-term chart, right? This is a 1-hour chart and a 1-day chart and a 1-week chart. Markets go like this, up and down, right? Sometimes there's trends, sometimes there's downtrends, but at the end of the day, it's an up and down motion, and that's how markets work. So you have to be able to play those ups and downs if you are swing trading, unless you get in your long-term positions. Somebody says Neo over EOS. I don't know. EOS is making some big moves, man. Brock Pierce is killing it. Him and his wife. She also has her own coin called Sensei, and that's also a really cool coin as well. They basically put value on human intelligence. So let's pull up more of this technical analysis here. So the next resistance really is around that 9,800 level. And you can see we've broken through these Fibonacci retracement levels, just kind of soaring right there. Let's actually remove this to give you a little bit of a better perspective of what we're watching here. So we actually went ahead and did not form that cup and handle that we initially said there was a 40% chance that we'd form. We went right through that. In my opinion, that's extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And at this point, I am expecting a little bit of some further highs. But as this MACD starts to get a little bit more overstretched, in my opinion, we're going to start to see a little bit of some profits being taken, because you can see here we are starting into this buy zone. But typically, once we get here, there's going to be that pullback. And in my opinion, you're seeing here, there is a pattern here of this positive divergence forming with this MACD. So I think what we're going to see with the MACD, instead of it going straight up, being that a lot of people do want to take some profits, as we all know, I think we'll see a little bit of some upside. But I think what's going to happen is it's going to curve back. We'll see a little bit of some downside, and it's going to follow this pattern right here. And that would be the most ideal scenario to walk into June with, possibly seeing new all-time highs with Bitcoin surpassing 20,000. And it would be if it followed this pattern. And that would make 100% sense as more retail investors push into the market, as more institutional money pushes into the market. And that's what I'm expecting here. So let's talk about some secret news that I got about Verge. So I had the individual from MindGeek give me a call yesterday, and I want you guys to understand the Verge team is not that big. Therefore, there's not going to be as much of a community, I guess, update, on a constant basis, like you see with these larger teams like Ripple, for example, that has over 80, 90 employees. So when you're talking about a coin like Verge, understand that they are making some big moves. I was talking to this guy yesterday, and I was like, man, a lot of people in my comments were kind of putting Verge down, and I was pretty bullish about Verge once they made the partnership. I thought that was a great idea. I was like, man, Monero would love to be accepted by, the largest adult entertainment company in the world. So I'm like, what type of daily transactions are you typically seeing in MindGeek in general? He said over $600,000 a day in memberships. He says they convert over 30%, 1/3 of the people that come into their traffic. So that's huge. I mean, that was a number that I wasn't even aware of. Not only that, he kind of mentioned in the phone call as well, Verge is actually working on a partnership coming up at the end of April that they're going to announce soon. So once again, this is a half and half trusted source. This was just a conversation I had. And if he's watching this video, I mean, you told me this, so I hope this is fine that I say this. But, I think that's pretty cool. Knowing that they have that potential partnership, I think it might have to do with the mobile game company that they were talking about previously. And the reason I'm mentioning all this is I saw this post here and it got 78 upvotes. And I was like, why not I address the information that I have just so I can provide more for the community? So in my opinion, Verge is going to see some exuberance soon. It's been completely oversold. If we're looking at some of these coins here, at coins that have been oversold, sorry, we had a trade alert for Verge recently, and that wasn't going so well, unfortunately. But I still think it's a coin to hodl because understand use cases went up and Verge is better now than it was before. And if we were to look at Verge's TA here, you can see here we had this huge drop, and now we're starting to consolidate, forming this descending triangle. So you can see these descending resistance levels, and then we've got this flat support level. And if you don't know how this pattern looks, I'll go ahead and show you exactly what this pattern indicates here. And by the way, this is our Discord. The link is in the description here. But the descending triangle here is typically when you have these descending resistance levels and you have these levels of support. So in my opinion, it is showing that it is forming a very bearish pattern. However, I just don't see it seeing much more downside. A lot of times when these type of patterns form, sometimes they don't necessarily go the way you might expect them to go, right? And in my opinion, there's so much upside potential here for Verge because it had all of these higher price levels before this partnership. So there's no reason for it to be going down. So in my opinion, I'm still very bullish on Verge, regardless of the descending triangle. I think that knowing that we had this huge upswing in price, we might need to wait for this MACD to see a little bit more of some sellers get rid of their positions before seeing that swing. But I think there's going to be a swing soon. I think it's going to be a large swing. You can see we're starting to head back down. So in my opinion, this was probably a bad trade alert. And I'm being honest here. I don't make the best calls always. I try my best. And at first I thought we saw a double bottom here in RSI, but obviously it's starting to go further down. So I would probably let go of your position at this point. It is forming a descending triangle. That's just the straight truth. It was a bad call on my end. And I'm sorry, I made the call too. I lost a little bit too on that, but my stop loss was already triggered. You can see we're forming the descending triangle. We're most likely to see further downside, but I'm still very bullish about Verge, right? I'm expecting this to start going a little bit like that, maybe finding a little bit of support along that Fibonacci retracement. But if we were to pull up the one-day chart, you can see here, in my opinion, we'll most likely bounce right on that, either this previous support level or right at 40, because 40 is where we bounced with the Binance coin, and that's a known level of support with RSI, because anything under 40 would be extremely bearish. So I think the correction will take it down to 40 and we'll possibly see a bounce there. But at this point, I wouldn't get a position in Verge. I would wait, especially with the altcoin pullback that we're expecting. But once that pulls back, I think that it's going to be a coin to get a position in for the long term, knowing that they are establishing these large partnerships. Tony Corona says, mad props, bruh. Props for what? Thank you. Jose Saldana says, apology accepted. Thank you. Peter says, I like your approach. Thank you. Mark says, it's okay. We all make mistakes. You guys are awesome. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. How about this? Why don't we do another book giveaway? By the way, if you guys appreciate these live streams, I'd really appreciate you liking this video. It takes a minute to just click the button, and it really helps out with our exposure on the channel. And we want to grow this channel as large as we can, obviously, because we can provide more value, and it can get me into doors that I typically can't get into and bring you guys more information, right? Maybe people are going to stop giving me information if they start realizing I release all the information, but who cares? Steven Igen says, lost 8% on Verge. I saw I left a comment about descending triangle and no one engaged. Ouch. Yeah, well, thank you for posting that, Steven. Hopefully somebody was saved from that. Andrew Sosa says, you're great. Thank you, brother. So why don't we do a book giveaway here? What does the MACD stand for? Let's see if people know what the MACD stand for. I've talked about the MACD before. The MACD. This is the MACD. What does the Mackie D stand for? Somebody says, been 2 months and I'm still no book. Mike Wiley, send me a message on Twitter at SnipersTube. We have to find out what's going on. Sorry about that. Pranjal Pandi says, can you do a technical analysis on Tron, please? Yeah, let's do it. We'll do a TRX technical analysis. We'll take some user requests as well. So we'll do some user request TA before we end this stream. And let's see who wins the book here. Robert, moving average convergence divergence. Congratulations, Robert. Send me a message on Twitter at SnipersTube and we'll verify your account on YouTube and get you that book. Louisa B is saying, David Burley says moving average convergence. Michael says moving average. Somebody says McDonald's. Eric Swell says McDonald's. That's hilarious. So let's do a Tron technical analysis. We're seeing quite a bit of exuberance. They have their mainnet coming up. So it's expected for us to see any sort of exuberance. By the way, if you want some food for thought, anytime a mainnet is set to launch, it adds a ton of intrinsic value to coins. That's why you see EOS and Tron breaking out. But when we pull up this chart here on the 1 day, you can see with the RSI, we are completely overbought here. So if we look at the 60, you can see how it acted as some resistance. We broke out of that. We saw this huge breakout. You can see here we saw a little bit of a curve here, but it wasn't enough to take Tron down. It went straight through. Now we're at these overbought levels. And at this point, it is seeing a huge rise in price. Remember, you can never determine magnitude. You can always determine price movement. So it's showing here, based on the MACD, there's probably going to be some more upward price action because you can see that curve is starting to occur. You've got this positive divergence here with a very thin correlation, which is amazing because that means that we'd most likely see this MACD follow this type of trend, which is very bullish. We can start to see the bullish histogram with the buyers coming in right now. Now, if we were to pull up the 1 hour, you can see here, actually, let's see where we bounced off of in terms of moving averages. Yeah, we bounced off of that 50-day and we shot right up. In my opinion, there's way too much exuberance right now to justify a position right now. And we are approaching this known resistance level. So if you look at this resistance, you can see we have this resistance level forming right, there's actually a really strong one right here. And it looks to be right around 383,000 Satoshis. And what's also interesting is it's forming this very big cup and handle as well. So that would be interesting to see. If this were to actually go like this, this would probably be the best time to get in, right? Let it bounce off that resistance. Let that handle form. That handle will most likely find support right here where we saw very strong resistance. And we saw a little bit of support here. And then that would be my entry point. So if I were waiting to get a position in Tron, I would wait for that handle to form. We're expecting some downside with altcoins anyways, so we might as well let that handle form, let it bounce off that support line, which was previously resistance. If you guys know technical analysis, previous resistance levels typically act as future support levels. So I would say that's the best way to handle the Tron trade right now. So any other requests before we wrap this baby up? By the way, if you guys want to ask a question for the CEO of Verge, who has been to jail, I think, over 7 times, then go ahead and go on our sli.do. The link is in the description. Then you can type in our code T818, and you can see people are already asking questions. People are asking questions for the live stream on this, but we'll see the best questions be, upvoted the most. So I will ask Justin any question you guys submit that gets a lot of upvotes. Somebody says XRP. Stan Smith says XRP. Satoshi Yoshi says BCH. John Doe says ETN. John Doe, I don't think TradingView has an ETN chart. James Greenway says XLM. I love Stellar. Chris Green says allegedly. Allegedly, yeah, exactly. That's what I heard, so that's why I said allegedly. Thank you for adding that word. I didn't use the word correctly. Alan says, hey, Naeem, can you confirm that? Is that a cup and handle forming on the 88 daily? That's a quick confirmation. Let's give a quick confirmation to our buddy here, our buddy Alan Billick. No, this would be a rounding bottom. So rounding bottoms are a little bit different. With a rounding bottom, you're coming from a descent, right? So instead of the cup and handle coming from a breakout, you're coming from a descent. So you can see here, this is a beautiful rounding bottom. Very beautiful rounding bottom, actually. You can see here, we've come from this descent right here. And we'll most likely see this start to drop in expectation of altcoins dropping too. I think we'll most likely see support right around 2,761 Satoshis, being that we found some strong resistance here previously, and that's where we found initial support here as well. And once this forms, in my opinion, I think we're going to be rejected once again here. I think the rejection will occur right around 3610. So I think we'll see a rejection to complete the formation of the handle. Once that handle forms, I think that's going to be the best entry point once again to then go ahead and expect that breakout for Cardano. So hopefully that assists in some way. But this is a rounding bottom, not a cup and handle, Alan. Hopefully that helps out. Sterling says, beautiful bottom. Thank you. Tony Corona says, if you believe we are due for altcoin pullback, should I wait on adding to my BNB position? I think BNB would act a little bit different. BNB is a anomaly right now. Remember, BNB was going down while altcoins were going up. Look at that. BNB was, for the most part, going down. So it did not see the exuberance. So it's actually the opposite. I think it would be a hedge against the pullback, just like Bitcoin is almost acting as a hedge, right? And we've been talking about BNB for quite a while now. So Javier says, why are you expecting alts to drop? Well, it just makes sense. Anytime you see a large amount of exuberance, people want to take profits, right? So you obviously will get a pullback, but it's healthy, right? The healthiest pullback we can see right now is about a 5 to 12% pullback, in my opinion. So we need to see a red wave in the market to justify all of these high price levels, or else it becomes a speculative bubble like we saw in December, right? We don't want this type of exuberance. We want consistent price action. Andrew says, never seen you do nano. And now they're requesting it in different ways. Now they're trying to be slick. I remember somebody once said, man, you never take my request. And then they put ... XVG. So that they can like make me feel bad and then do the request. Buy low, sell high. I like that name. It says Ncash. Rashid says, great video. Thank you, brother. Nuavo says, you the man. Any more requests here? I see a lot of requests here for ETH. Let's do ETH USD here. Ethereum USD. Let's go ahead and do the technical analysis here. So we talked about this once again. We talked about us going up a little bit higher. And now we are approaching these overbought levels. Remember, we drew this out yesterday. So we're following the exact pattern we talked about. Remember, we talked about downside to upside. Look at that trade. Yesterday, we basically did a trade on these live streams, right? So understand that there's obvious patterns. And you can see this is a very strong resistance level. It's a Fibonacci zone, and it's also a strong resistance and support level. So in my opinion, we're going to see that pullback, and it just makes sense, right? Now, that pullback might not be that much, but if it happens, this is going to be a beautiful rounding bottom once again. We don't see a breakout. This is coming from a descent, but if it can form that handle, I think that would be ideal here at that Fibonacci retracement. It just makes sense, right? If you go to the 4 hour, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So you see how this acted as support? Well, you can see it's most likely to act as resistance. We're already seeing a little bit of resistance of that red candle. So I think we'll see a little bit of a retracement back, and that's in expectation of that full pullback. So hopefully you all enjoyed this video. Once again, for the next 7 days, we're giving away books on Twitter at SnipersTube. And I'm going to wrap this baby up. I'd really appreciate a like on this video before you leave, but we will be live tomorrow. Thank you all for tuning in. You're very welcome, Andrew, for the shout out. Justin R says top holds for 2018. I would say Binance Coin. I would say EOS if you've already had it. Maybe wait for a little bit of some pullback because there's going to be so many applications built on that. And Bitcoin I'm very bullish on because Bitcoin, it's not going to be deemed a security. It doesn't pass the Howey test. But thank you all for tuning in. And until our next one, as always, snipers out.